Hey everybody, Quentin here with Mid-South Outdoor Life, and in today's video we're going to be talking all about catching fresh bait, because one of the most asked questions that I get on this channel, by far and away, it's about how, when, and where to catch skipjack, moon eye, and other fresh baits. So hopefully with the tips that you're going to get in today's video, you'll never have to buy bait again. Let's do this. Okay guys, so I don't want today's video to be incredibly long. I'm not trying to rush through it, but I want to give you as much information in as little time as possible. And I'm going to give you some general tips that will truly make a difference in how, when, and where you can catch bait. And at the same time, I'm going to show you the exact lures that I use to catch bait on any river at any time of year. Tip number one, don't rely solely on dams and spillways to find and catch your bait. Sure, there are times a year when, you know, the skipjack, the moon eye, the shad, perch, white bass, all that, it'll pile up at dams and spillways. And it's easy pickings, and they'll bite anything at those times of year. So yeah, it's easy, but what about the times of year when they're not in there? What if you want fresh bait at any time of year? That's why you don't need to become too reliant on dams and spillways. You've got to get out and put in the time on your body of water to learn how to locate the fish any time of year, not just 2 times a year at dams and spillways. Tip number 2, learn how to tie sabikis. I've actually done videos on how to tie sabikis here on this channel. I have at least 2 of them. I recommend that you check those out, and I will put the links in the description of this video. But the reason that you need to learn how to tie them on your own, I mean, they are commercially available, but you need to learn how to tie them on your own because some of these bait fish are extremely finicky when it comes to size and color, particularly color. And so, if you can tie your own sabikis, you can create your own custom combinations and not be bound just by what you can, buy at the bait shop or Amazon or whatever. So check out those videos here on the channel on how to tie sabikis. Tip number 3 is very closely related to tip number 2, and that is always carry multiple sabikis, even multiples of the exact same color or pattern. Oh, that one got off. And the reason for that is when you do find the bait, the bite can be really fast and furious, but you also may only have a really short window of time in order to catch that bait, because they might turn off just as quick as they turned on. And if you're going to fish with sabikis that are going to have anywhere from 3 or 5 or maybe even more jigs on them, at some point during the day you're going to have some tangles, and sometimes those tangles can be a real mess. And to me, it's not worth wasting time trying to untangle a sabiki when you could just take it off and tie on a new one really quick. To me, that's a far better use of time than to spend your fishing time frustrated over a tangled sabiki. So trust me on that. Carry multiples of the same thing. Tip number 4. Not all jigs are created equal. Not even close. I'll bet you've probably seen a video or 2, or maybe talked to fishermen that will try to tell you that these skipjack and other bait fish will bite almost anything. But the reality is, the only time that applies is those couple times a year when the bait is stacked up below dams and spillways. Other than that, sometimes you got to have just the right jig to get them to go when that bite is tough. If you've watched this channel very long, you know that for quite some time I've used these Shama lure jigs. I've stuck with them, and there's several reasons for that. One is they work, obviously. Another is their quality is just, I mean, it's not even comparable there's no store-bought jig that's even comparable to the durability of these jigs. They're powder coated, so they hold their color. Something about the way they tie them, they don't fray and fall apart. It used to be kind of a pain to order Shama lure jigs because he only did custom stuff. However, now there's a signature series of jigs that I helped put together. There are 6 of them, and I'm going to put them here on the screen. It'll make it a whole lot easier for you to order them if you choose to try them. Let's see if I can remember them all off the top of my head. Classic White, which I've got some on this rig. The Ninja, the Bruiser, the Dirty Bird, the Harlequin, Poison Apple. I think that's 6. They all work. They all work in a variety of conditions. Some of them work in any condition. That the Classic White and the Ninja are amazing. That's why I chose them. If you're going to fish a lot of muddy water, you're going to want that Bruiser and maybe the Dirty Bird. If you're fishing for moon eye, gotta have the Dirty Bird. Anyway, I'm gonna put them all on the screen. You contact them on Facebook. I don't get a percentage of it or anything. I'm not trying to sell them to you based on that. But they're awesome. You guys ask me a lot of questions about how I catch my skipjack. Today I'm telling you, Shama lure jigs a big part of it. You don't want to miss tip number 5. That's coming up.
This production is being brought to you by Battery Outfitters. With locations all over the Mid-South, they are your neighborhood battery store.
Okay, so tip number 5. It involves locating bait fish when they're not piled up below dams and spillways. In fact, it is to me the number 1 key in finding bait at any given time of year when they're not piled up below dams and spillways. You've been looking at it the whole time because it's exactly how I'm catching them today. And that tip is find a mud line. You know, there are people that think that dams and spillways are the only place to find skipjack, and that if they couldn't catch them that day, they just weren't biting. Well, I don't think that's the case. I think just like any other fish, they move around. I mean, fish do swim. And for me, by far and away, the most reliable way to find them at other places on your body of water besides a dam and a spillway is to just ride around looking at mud lines and fishing mud lines. You're going to find mud lines along current seams, along tributaries, around rock dikes. And I don't know exactly what it is about a mud line that is so good for holding these bait fish. Maybe it's an ambush thing. Maybe they're hanging out in the little clouds of muddy water, waiting to pop out and ambush their prey. But that's it, guys. Find a mud line. Okay, last but not least, certainly not the least important, and you can call this tip number 6, or you can call it bonus tip for part number 5, whatever. But that tip is never go bait fishing without a properly iced cooler. I see a lot of people, they'll go out with a 5-gallon bucket and they'll throw their bait in there and then wonder why their bait's mushy and won't stay on the hook. Well, it's because most bait fish turn really quick and they turn to mush. So you need a properly iced cooler. Like that. Or even better, take 2. Take one that has just a little bit of ice in the bottom, and then take another one that's full of ice, so that as you catch your bait throughout the day, you can layer ice over the top of them, and they will last tenfold over warm, rotting, deathy, flesh mush bait, because you didn't take care of it. It's never good to waste a resource, right? So take care of your bait. You won't have to have as much of it, and it'll last you longer. That's all for today. Thanks for tuning in.